Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful week. I wanted to, this Erev Shabbos Parshas Chazon, Parshas Devarim, and I wanted to share a thought about Tisha B'Av. And I have in my hands a beautiful sefer, the Kinos Mesoras Harav, the kinos that were put together collecting the drashos and the Divrei Torah by Rav Soloveitchik when he used to sit on Tisha B'Av, explaining, elucidating the kinos. And there's an introduction to the sefer written by Rabbi Haskell Luckstein, where he writes that he was visiting Israel. He was visiting Israel in August of 1967. And they arrived, he and his wife arrived August 14th, 1967, Erev Tisha B'Av. Think about it, 1967, literally 2 months, less than 2 months after the Six-Day War. So the Jewish people had Yerushalayim, a complete Yerushalayim, the Kotel Hamaravi. They captured it, recaptured it, took hold of it, took control of it. Yerushalayim Shelanu, a mere 6-7 weeks earlier. And now they're coming, and Rabbi Luckstein describes the mood in Israel was anything but Tisha B'Av-like. There was simply no feeling of mourning and sadness. On the contrary, there was a feeling of exhilaration, confidence, excitement, and redemption. It was clear that Israelis were in no mood to observe or even to feel the sadness of the morning of Tisha B'Av. And indeed, they went to shul, they said Eicha, they started to read kinos, and then about halfway through, Rabbi Luckstein describes people left shul. They said, why? We have Yerushalayim, it's returned, we have the land of Israel, we have Tzahal, we have an army, we are on the road back, why do we need to commemorate a Tisha B'Av? And Rabbi Luckstein then proceeds to elucidate and explain Rav Soloveitchik's approach. And Rav Soloveitchik 10 months later gave a shiur in 1968 in June, describing exactly why Tisha B'Av is still relevant, unfortunately, today. He asks, and he gives 3 core answers, 3 core ideas. Number one, the first idea is that we have a vision. And we see this all the time, we see it a lot today. B'chol dor v'dor omdim aleinu l'chalosenu. Is that there was a Churban Bayis Rishon, and the Babylonians seized and took over and destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. We rebuilt, and then the Romans, and generation after generation, crusades and inquisitions and holocausts. And even though we have periods of time in our history where things are looking better, looking good, but we have this vision of, and an understanding, a reality, and one just needs to read the news of what goes on, the anti-Semitism that is on the rise. Every single day we hear stories, and the shootings and the murders, and kind of the direction that the world in general is traveling in, and the anti-Zionism, which is anti-Semitism, and the vision that Kol Dor She'ol Nivneh Beis HaMikdash B'Yamav Ki'ilu Nechrav B'Yamav, that if we haven't rebuilt the Beis HaMikdash, so there's no guarantees, and while now things might be looking good, but B'chol Dor V'Dor Omdim Aleinu, we still find ourselves in a state of galus. Second approach is that Rav Soloveitchik proves with many, many rayos, with many proofs, that even after we built the second Beis HaMikdash, during the time of the second Beis HaMikdash, they were still mourning the loss of the first Beis HaMikdash. Because Chazal tell us that the first Beis HaMikdash was so much more profound, the Nisim were so much greater, the sense of Hashras Hashchina was much more deep by the first Beis HaMikdash than it was by the second Beis HaMikdash. So even though there was a redemption, a geula, and even though we were allowed to rebuild the second Beis HaMikdash, but so many people did not participate in the return from Bavel. 40,000 people came back, but the most prosperous, the wealthiest, they stayed back in Bavel. There was something missing, something incomplete, even in the Binyan Bayis Sheni. And if that was true then, when we had a Beis HaMikdash, so alachas kama v'kama today, we don't have the Beis HaMikdash. We see the flaws, we see the problems, we see how much is missing, we see the sinas chinam, we see the ills that surround us, that yes, indeed, we're still in galus, and there is still what to mourn, what to lament, what to say kinos about. Finally, the third answer given by Rav Soloveitchik was as follows: is that the day of Avelus, the day of sadness that we experience when it comes to Tisha, is, as we read in the Kinos, it's not just mourning the Churban Habayis. It's mourning so many other things. And we have Kinos about the Crusades in Worms and in Mainz. We have Kinos about the Shoah. We should have Kinos about what happened this year in Pittsburgh, shootings in Florida, and in general, that sense of what is going on around us. It is not merely solely a commemoration of an Avelus Yeshana of 2,000 years ago, but it is an experience of Hester Panim and a darkness, a lack of Hashras Hashchina that we see all around us on a daily basis. And therefore, unfortunately, Tisha B'Av is still relevant. Yes, we have Yerushalayim, but we can't really go up on Har Bayis. Some people do, for sure, but it's not ours in any real sense. We can't build a Beis HaMikdash. We don't have full sovereignty over the land of Israel that we could do whatever we want. We are still subjugated to a sense of Galus. And therefore, there is still what to lament, still what to pray for. And until we have that full sense of Hashras Hashchina, where we totally have control of Eretz Yisrael, where we can and will build a Beis HaMikdash, until then, we will still have questions of Eicha. How could it have happened? How could Hashem, you let it happen? How could we cause it to happen? He'll still have those questions. We'll still have that sense of Avelus. We'll still have those lamentations. And we should be zoche to perceive these lessons, which are equally relevant today as they were, alas, unfortunately, 2,000 years ago. And Bez Hashem, by really tapping in to what the day is all about, to tapping into not what we have, but what we still lack, what we're still missing, then Bez Hashem will be zoche to see a real sense of Geula, a complete sense of Geula, a sense of Hashras Hashchina, and the Beis HaMikdash Shiboneh B'mheira V'Yomeinu. Amen.